Welcome back to Wrestling Talk. I am Alexis Carrillo, and it is Friday, which means we've got SmackDown and we've got Rampage to look forward to. And, I was thinking about making a preview video of Winter is Coming from this past Wednesday. I was thinking about making a preview video earlier in the week about who is going to walk out of that big show for AEW as the AEW World Champion. Would it have been Hangman Page retaining over Bryan Danielson? Or would the American Dragon, dethrone and abruptly end Adam Hangman Page as champion after just a month at the top of All Elite Wrestling? And now, looking back on it, looking back at what transpired on Wednesday night, I am so happy. I am so very happy I did not do it. Because at the end of the day, we all saw the result. We all saw that it ended in a time limit draw. Which means nobody won. Which means nobody lost. Which means there was no conclusion, there was no closure, everything remained the same. And yes, we've got 60 minutes of top-notch wrestling action. We did. But like I said, no closure, no winner. You're basically jerking off your fans, telling them to hold up, we're going to get you to that place eventually, pretty damn soon. And this wouldn't be a problem. This time limit drop wouldn't be a problem if it was just the first time that it happened. But it's not. Just a few months ago, we got a 30-minute time limit draw between Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. And that worked back then because it gave us something to look forward to. We were all looking forward to the rematch, the inevitable rematch that is yet to come between Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega down the line once the cleaner comes back from all his injuries. That's a rematch we all get to look forward to. But right now, AEW has essentially taken a shortcut this past Wednesday night on Dynamite. AEW did not have the balls, the intestinal fortitude to give us a winner in that match. And I get it. Most of you AEW marks, AEW fans out there are gonna be like, yeah, but they gave us 60 minutes of top-notch action that you don't get anywhere else. That's like saying, okay, don't eat for the next 3 days because on Wednesday, on Thursday night, this upcoming Thursday night, you're going to have a feast, you're going to have a buffet, you're going to have all-you-can-eat buffet, but we're not going to give you dessert. We're not going to give you that cherry on top. You're not going to be completely satisfied. You can have a ball. You can have anything on the menu except for the dessert, except for that cherry on top of the cake that you want. Why? Because we just don't feel to give it. We just don't feel like giving it to you yet. We want to wait to give you that. So essentially, AEW has made time limit draws a running joke. And I get it, it's the second time that this has happened in the past few months. It's the second time. It's no big deal, just 2 times. It's not like WWE giving us rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch every single week on Raw and every single week on SmackDown. It's not the same thing, and yes, it certainly was more entertaining. But at the end of the day, we were expecting closure. We were expecting a definitive winner. And if I had done that preview show, or that preview clip, for this match, I would have told you. I would have told you if it was up to me, I would have had the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, win the championship from Hangman Adam Page. Because right now, the current run Bryan Danielson has is, in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, it's a lot hotter and a lot more exciting than what Hangman Page brings to the table. Because we already got what we wanted from Hangman Page. We got the journey to the World Championship. He's defended the world title. But overall, eventually down the line, that's going to get boring and it's going to get stale because he's a babyface. He's a babyface champion. And babyfaces need to chase the heel. And a hero is not anywhere good or any important at all if their villain can't get the job done. That's eternal storytelling right there. The villain needs to be at some points better than the babyface, than the hero, so that the hero can overcome those odds and overcome those stakes and live up to his potential. And that's how you create a story. But you can't end it on a draw. Certainly not a second time. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not looking forward to another rematch between Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson. I'm not. I would have been looking forward to the rematch if Bryan Danielson had won the championship. Hell, I would have even been looking forward to a rematch if Hangman Adam Page would have retained the title. Just give us a definitive winner. It is. Just give us a definitive winner. I'll go back to another example. It's just like you gave us the Super Bowl, but there was no winner. No one became champion. You gave us a great match, back and forth, two teams overcoming the odds against one another in one of the greatest matches in NFL history, and nobody won. Because the referees, the officials of the game couldn't decide who would win. So AEW needs to work on that. They need to work on the fact that they can't give us definitive results. I'll take the finger poke of doom in 1999 over this any single day. Why? Because there's a winner in that match. There's a resolution. There are things to come. What do we have to look forward to next Wednesday night on Dynamite? Ooh, a 60-minute time limit draw. What a great match. There was no definitive winner. So we're going to get a rematch down the line. Well, guess what? What happens if these two guys went out there in a main event of a show with all the heat that they had for each other, against each other, leading up to the match? If these guys wrestled to a 60-minute time limit draw, what do you think a rematch is going to end with? What do you think it's going to lead up to? Another rematch? A screwball finish? An overbooked mess? This past Wednesday night was decision day for AEW. You either buckle up, grab your frickin' balls, and tell your audience that Hangman Page is your guy right now, and he beats Bryan Danielson to retain the championship, or you go the entire other different way. You tell us, your audience, that the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, has been on such a run since he debuted on AEW television that he deserves to dethrone Hangman Adam Page, because that will bring ratings up. That will bring the attention of the wrestling fans to our product. You do that. You give us one of those two things. You don't take the easy way out, which was this time limit draw, and tell the fans, oh, wait for it. Wait for us to really gauge what we want from both of these guys, what we want from our programming, from our show. And then we'll give you what we want. Then we'll see what we want to do with our main event title scene with two of our top guys. Then we'll see. You don't do that. But I digress. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of you fans, like I've said earlier in this video, earlier in this broadcast, a lot of you fans are just happy you got the 60 minutes. That time limit draw. That fantastic action. I'm not denying it was a fantastic matchup. It was great watching him go back and forth. I was surprised that Hangman Adam Page kept up with Bryan Danielson. I really was. But at the end of the day, what did we get from it? Nothing. Nothing. That's just my opinion. That was the end result for me. But again, if you have a different result, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. What do you think happened during this 60-minute time limit draw? Do you think AEW made the right choice? Did they make the right call? You're looking forward to their rematch? Yada, yada, yada. Do you disagree? I'm sure most of you disagree with me. Leave it on the comment section below. And now going from one of the most controversial decisions that AEW has made over the past few months, pretty much this entire year, we have to go into something that interests a lot of wrestling fans out there, and that is the fact that in the next 2 years, a talent like Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, will be up for grabs. His contract is up. He has stated this himself. His contract is up in 2024. It's either up for renewal or he could field options for a new contract over at the competition in WWE. I've said this in the past, and I'll continue to say this time and time again. MJF is a once-in-a-lifetime talented star that any wrestling company out there would be lucky, would be killing themselves to have on their roster. He started in the independents. He had a stint in Major League Wrestling before AEW came up and got founded. And now, whenever you speak of AEW, to me, the face of that company, the true quote-unquote homegrown star that leads to associating to All Elite Wrestling, to me that's MJF. Hell, if I started a backyard wrestling company and it was just one guy, and if it was just two guys to start off the show, a complete nobody, let's call him Alexis Carrillo, complete nobody, and then you got this billions of dollars to sign this one guy to have your first show, your first match, I'd sign MJF. And guess what? Because I sign MJF, people are gonna come. People are gonna tune in. That's how talented he is on that stick and in that wrestling ring. He is a part of the 4 pillars, just like he said. And because he's a part of those 4 pillars, in my mind, that contract in 2024 should not be in question. If I'm Tony Khan right now, I re-sign him prior to that contract coming up. I do. I secure my future in AEW because that is what MJF is for the company. I secure that all the way. I don't even let talks begin. I don't even let the speculation begin. And I know there are reports that Fox and USA Network are interested in WWE making a move on MJF in the coming years. And I'm sure MJF has read into those reports, and I'm pretty much sure he's gotten some feelers out there from WWE officials and talent to come over to the competition. But should he? Should he? And again, this is a business, so you're going to make a business decision. And at the end of the day, WWE can pay MJF more than AEW can. That's just a fact. That's just how the business is run. In business terms, because WWE has a ton of revenue, and so they can throw money out there like you've never seen it before and keep stars under contract for millions and millions of dollars. And I'm not saying Tony Khan can't do that. I'm just saying that Tony Khan can do that and start getting into the red numbers because his company doesn't generate that much revenue. So you gotta look at those options. And if you gave me a choice of if I'm an AEW fan or a WWE fan, I'm gonna choose WWE 9 times out of 10. Why? Because they've been around for what? 50, 60 years at this point. They're the brand. They are the leader in sports entertainment. And they have proven in the past that if they are put against the wall if they are put in the corner, if they are threatened enough to compete, to actually elevate their quality of their shows, they will do that. And I trust that. But with that said, I don't want MJF to sign with WWE. I don't want MJF to be on Raw or on SmackDown. Hell no. Hell no. I want AEW to retain MJF at all costs. I want AEW to retain Darby Allin at all costs. I want AEW to retain Britt Baker at all costs. The same with the rest of the four pillars. They should all stay and stick with AEW. Because at the end of the day, right now what the company is doing is bringing up all these stars. They got CM Punk, they got Bryan Danielson, they got Adam Cole, they got Ruby Riott. They've got Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano on the market. They've got a ton of other stars on the market that they could bring in that mean nothing to their programming because their viewership does not go up. They aren't able to attract new viewers. It means nothing. But what I want as an AEW fan is for them to keep their stars, the stars that define all elite wrestling, that have defined them for the past 3 years. I want them to do that. And MJF is number one, and that's it. If it were up to me, if I was in charge of AEW, if I had the choice between keeping MJF and keeping the rest of the four pillars or the rest of the homegrown stars, I'd keep MJF. No questions asked. I would not even think about it. Why? Because he's just that damn talented. He's just that damn good, and he's that damn better than us. And we know it. We do know it. So at the end of the day, 2024 is still a few years away. MJF's contract will be up during that time, and it will only be in accordance to his current character that he lets that contract run out, or he lets that contract come up to the end of the hour. And he might be a dipshit and give WWE some hopes. But hopefully MJF, if you are listening, if you are watching, re-sign with AEW. You won't regret it. But anyway, what do you think? What do you think MJF's next move is going to be in 2024? Will he re-sign with AEW? Will he listen to offers from WWE and actually take them? What do you think he should do? Do you want him to stick with AEW, or do you want him to pop up on a Monday Night Raw in the next 2 or 3 years? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And speaking of free agents, we gotta talk about Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. Just about a week and a half ago, they had their final appearances on an NXT pay-per-view. They had their final appearances on an NXT show. Their contracts came up. As far as I know, Johnny Gargano signed a 1-week extension to be able to work War Games and finish up all the storylines he had tied up with NXT, and now he is a free agent. Which means he could sign with any wrestling company out there. And he is expecting, I believe, a baby boy with his wife, Candice LeRae. So obviously, that's the most important thing in his life right now. Doesn't matter where he ends up. He needs to focus on that. That's his main focus right now. But WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, NWA, Major League Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they are all interested in signing both of these stars to contracts with their companies. Why wouldn't they be? They are fantastic talents. They have proven that. Do I want them to end up in AEW? Hell no. You look at AEW's roster, it's already bloated as hell. You've got so much talent on that roster that you got guys like Brian Cage and Eddie Kingston and Dante Martin and Jack Evans and Private Party and so many others working strictly for a few weeks, Dark and Elevation. Why? Because there's not enough time on the 2 hours of Dynamite or on the 1 hour of Rampage to put them on TV and give them a meaningful story. There's not enough time to put all these stars in the limelight, which is where they should be. They should be prominently figured in AEW television, and that happens in most cases. That also happens in WWE. There are tons of stars in WWE right now that are not getting what they deserve, their due. Ricochet on SmackDown, Cedric Alexander on Raw, just to name 2 examples, each brand. So this happens everywhere. And a bunch of people out there want to see Kyle O'Reilly join up with Bobby Fish and Adam Cole and the Elite on AEW because they've seen that in the past, and now they want to see it on Dynamite every single week. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you want. I don't want that. But if it were up to me, if I were making the big boy moves in WWE, I would have re-signed them both. I would have done everything in my power to re-sign both Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. But I would have moved Johnny Gargano over to SmackDown. I would have moved him up the main roster. Build him up from there. Which is kind of hard because, again, he's about to become a father, and him being on the road most of the year is not something that he wants, obviously. That's tough. But eventually, when Tommaso Ciampa drops the title, I would move him up to the main roster. They've been in NXT for the past 5 years. It's time. NXT is a developmental brand. NXT's purpose is to build these stars up to get them accustomed to the WWE way of doing things and then bring them up to Raw and SmackDown and test them in those waters. That's NXT's purpose. And Kyle O'Reilly, he proved with his feud, with his rivalry against Adam Cole earlier this year, that he's a main event star. He can carry the NXT brand. And I would have moved Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne into Ciampa's and Gargano's spot for the next year at NXT. Have them be the veteran anchors for all the young talent that is coming up the ranks on NXT 2.0. That's what I would have done. That's what I would still do. They still have the chance to do that. And then eventually, after a year, move O'Reilly and Dunn up to the main roster. Hopefully Braun Breakers to the main roster at that point as well. You give LA Knight a shot at being a main eventer in NXT. You do all those things. But again, I'm sick and tired of seeing all these free agents showing up on AEW and then meaning less because they can't be prominently featured after their debuts because there's way too much talent. But that's just me. Anyway, what do you think is gonna end up being the fate of both these stars? Do you think they're gonna end up on Dynamite one of these days, one of these weeks? I mean, a lot of people were expecting that of Bray Wyatt. He's nowhere to be seen yet. And Malachi Black and Andrade haven't really done much since their debut. They've been a part of the show. That's pretty much it. So anyway, leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on where Gargano and O'Reilly end up and whether you want them to end up and what would you do if you were booking them on any of these shows. So go right ahead. Then we gotta move on to the rated R superstar, Edge. A few weeks ago, he made his return to Monday Night Raw. Really, WWE? Really? Yet another return? Yet another comeback? How many times has this been at this point? 3, 4 comebacks for Edge? You're gonna keep milking that? I mean, I get it. He's a part-time star. He only has so many matches, so many rivalries left in the tank. But do you really want him to waste that time with The Miz? And I get it. The Miz and Edge segment was an answer to MJF and CM Punk. It was a weak answer, but an answer nonetheless. It proved its purpose. It's long gone. It didn't live up to that hype. They had that one little zinger about, they have The Miz mentioning his name on other shows just for a cheap pop. Bravo, you did that. You have two of the best talkers in Edge and Miz in WWE going back and forth on a heavily scripted show. That's not something to look forward to, in my opinion. It's not. It's not. And I'm truly hoping, there's nothing against The Miz, but I'm truly hoping this match, this upcoming match at Day 1 between The Miz and Edge is just a one-off. And it's just like a pit stop for Edge to go on to bigger and better rivals. Like I said, nothing against The Miz. I think he's a fucking awesome star. No pun intended. He's great on the mic. He's a company guy. He knows how to work in that ring. He knows how to protect the guys he's in that ring with. And he's worked his ass off since day one in WWE. You can't deny that from him. At all. But if you ask me, Edge versus The Miz, I would have been more excited for that match back in 2011 when they were both world champions and the main eventers of the respective shows. Obviously, due to circumstances back then that never happened, out of WWE's control. But like I said, for to me, this is a one-off. This is just a transitional period for WWE to get Edge back into the limelight on Raw, back into the attention, get a win under his belt, and then move on to better opponents. Like a Big E, like a Bobby Lashley, like a Kevin Owens, like a Finn Balor, like, I don't know. I've run out of options because I don't have the Raw roster right in front of me. But there are tons of other options that he could have gone against. And at this point, this whole story between The Miz and Maurice they're building up on Raw, I'm just not interested. And I know this is a show and me not showing interest in a certain match and a certain topic that I bring up. It's not quite the best use of entertainment for the show, but I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest. And I was looking forward to that segment between Edge and The Miz because people just talked about it on social media, but then I watched it and I was like, I had that one zinger, but overall it was just average. It was just another run-of-the-mill segment, and the match, it's going to be the same thing. So anyway, yeah, looking over to Royal Rumble season, WrestleMania season, let's see what Edge and The Miz do after this hopeful one-off between them at Day 1. And finally, it's time to close out the show, today's show, with a Impact Wrestling topic, which is not something I normally do, because like I said, they're not really a prominent figure in professional wrestling. They haven't been. They've taken a backseat to WWE, and they've taken a backseat to AEW, and in the past few months, they've taken a backseat to Ring of Honor, since Ring of Honor Wrestling is pretty much ending at this point. But one thing I do like that Impact Wrestling has done is that at their upcoming pay-per-view, Hard to Kill, in early January, taking place in Dallas, Texas, they have a stacked card. They have Moose defending the Impact World Championship in a triple threat match against Matt Cardona and W. Morrissey. Run-of-the-mill triple threat match. Nothing wrong with that. Moose retains. No problem. You have a match that should main event that show, which is the Texas Death Match, where Mickie James defends her Knockouts Championship against the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. They had a banger, a slobber knocker at Bound for Glory. I can't wait for this pay-per-view match. Again, should be the main event of this show. It is, after all, Dallas, Texas, and it is, after all, a Texas Death Match between two of the best, not just female wrestlers out there, wrestlers, performers out there, period. That should main event this show. You have former champion Josh Alexander going up against a guy who has surprised me. The former Bronson Reed made his debut a few weeks ago on Impact Wrestling as Jonah. That's going to be Not a wrestling match. It's going to be a brawl at Hard to Kill between those two stars. Looking forward to that. But now you've got a 6-woman Ultimate X match where the winner will get a future shot at whoever the Knockouts champion is. I mean, you got Rosemary, you got Jordynne Grace, you got Lady Frost. I think you got Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood, maybe. I'm blanking on a few of those names, but it's a pretty good lineup for that first ever Ultimate X Knockouts match. And I just gotta say, this is one thing that Impact Wrestling should be doing a lot more. They should be giving the Knockouts division and the Knockouts themselves the Ultimate X matches, the Iron Women matches, the Texas Death matches, the Full Metal Mayhems. You should put them in these gimmick matches and give and highlight their abilities to be main eventers and be these household stars for their shows, for Impact Wrestling. That's what they should be doing with Impact Wrestling going forward. And I know I say a lot of controversial things on this show, and it's not just to piss people off. This is truly what I think. I would like a whole lot less, just get rid of it completely, of intergender wrestling in Impact Wrestling. In my opinion, they did that. They tried it almost 2 years ago with Tessa Blanchard. They made headlines. They made her the Impact World Champion, the first woman, the first female to win the Impact World Champion. And they made headlines. They got the wrestling world's attention. And then because of the pandemic, that helped, unfortunately, it blew up in their face. And then later, attempts involved Jordynne Grace, who is a fantastic bodybuilder, a great in-ring performer. They had her attempt to become X Division champion. That did not happen. You had her in multi-man matches in intergender wrestling, which again I think is just ridiculous. Intergender wrestling is just ridiculous because it does not happen in any other sport. You don't see men versus women in other professional sports. I'm not saying that they can't beat up the men. They can. Hell, every single woman on that roster can beat the shit out of me. I'm not saying they can't. All I'm saying is that doesn't happen in any other sport. It doesn't happen in any other professional wrestling company out there. You want to use that as a tagline of, oh, we're different, we do this. Takes me out of the show completely. And yes, it happens in other forms of entertainment. Movies, where we know it's scripted. But this is a hybrid sports entertainment. We're expected to believe that someone like Chelsea Green can actually beat Fallah Bahh in a match, in a scripted contest, where Fallah Bahh is supposed to hold back because she's fighting a female in the match. He can't go all out because this is a wrestling match. You have to abide by those rules. Again, takes me out of the match completely. So once Impact Wrestling does that, once they get completely rid of all intergender wrestling, and I'm not just talking about the matches themselves. I'm talking about these segments where you have, like this past Thursday, I believe, just last night, you had Chelsea Green getting involved in the main event rivalry between Moose and Matt Cardona, where Moose actually tried to get physical with Chelsea Green, and Chelsea ended up eating a steel chair shot to the head by her fiance, Matt Cardona. Ridiculous. And there's no real stakes to it because it happens all the time. It's not shocking because it has happened previously. We've seen Chelsea Green against Falaba. We've seen Chelsea Green against Rohit Raju. We've seen that. It's not shocking at all. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. She got herself into that situation. It's not shocking. It's not must-see television. Intergender wrestling is just hurting the main business. You want to have it as a main attraction on the independents? Fine, be my guest. Don't do it. If you want to be a top-notch wrestling company, don't do it on a main stage. That's just my opinion. But overall, Ultimate X, Hard to Kill, winner gets a Knockouts championship match in the future. Couldn't be more excited. I'm hoping. Again, I know I say this a lot, but if it were up to me, Hard to Kill would open with a 6-women Ultimate X match, and then it would close out the show with a Texas Death match for the Knockouts title. You got your curtain jerker, and you got your main event. All female dominant for Hard to Kill. Impact Wrestling, if you're watching, free ideas, no charge at all. But anyway, what do you think about my thoughts? Are you looking forward to the Ultimate X match coming up at Hard to Kill? Do you agree with my opinion on intergender wrestling in main top-notch actual professional wrestling companies that are on actual TV shows, on networks? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions, and quote-unquote hate comments on the comment section below. And that's been it. It's Friday. We're looking forward to the weekend. We are just about 2 weeks away from the end of the year. And I'm hoping that tonight you enjoy SmackDown, you enjoy Rampage. And I've been Alexis Carrillo. And I'll see you next time.